Hey there, Aubrey. How's everything going? What's going on?
I'm great. How are you, Lindsay?
Good, good.
What have you been up to lately?
Oh, I've been spending a lot of time outdoors as usual. Being outdoors is the best summer activity.
Well, not in Arizona. It's too hot here right now.
I'll give you that. Yeah, winter is when it's nice for you outside, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
Right. Oh, this is
Yes.
interesting. I noticed you said, I'll give you that. We got a great question about this phrase. And yeah, we're going to
Yes.
dive into this today.
Yeah, and I really liked that conversation. It felt balanced. It felt like we were hearing each other, and it was social. So let's see how to do that, how to use that phrase, I'll give you that. But first, guys, hit the follow button on the All Ears English podcast and make sure you don't miss a single one. Right, Aubrey?
Yes, absolutely. Right. 5 episodes every week. So be sure to hit follow.
Yes. All right. I will read Mara's question. So
All right.
she says, "Hi, All Ears English team. I hope you're doing well. I really enjoy listening to your podcast, and thank you for making learning English so fun and engaging." Well, we enjoy it too, right,
Yes.
Aubrey?
Thank you for writing in.
I came across the phrase, "I'll give you that," and was wondering if you could explain what it means and how it's typically used in conversation. I'd love to hear your take on it in an upcoming episode if possible. Thanks again for all the great content. Cheers, Mara. Love it.
Yes, I love that. I love cheers. Very British. I wish we
Very
said that
British.
more in the States. Cheers.
I actually have friends that say that, American friends that will say
Oh,
that
nice.
in emails and things. But I do agree. You hear a lot more from British people.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
love it. I'm going to adopt
Yeah.
it more. I think
Okay.
it's very fun and friendly.
So when do we use this? I'll give you that.
Yeah, so this is used to acknowledge or concede a point that someone has made, you know, whether it's something you wouldn't normally agree with or that you would, like our conversation there, just that it's hot. Okay, I'll give you that. It's definitely hotter in Arizona.
Yes, it's a concession, right? You're kind of conceding, but not in a typical format of a negotiation concession. It's like it's a bit of a verbal concession, kind of. Yeah,
Right.
you're right. I'll give you that, right?
Exactly. It's often when you partially agree about something, right? Maybe you're admitting that they're right about one thing, but you wouldn't fully agree overall. So we can use these for arguments, debates, discussions. And then we also use them like in that opening conversation in just like a very friendly, everyday way.
That's a really important point what you just said, Aubrey. Sometimes when we don't fully agree with everything or maybe the overall thing they're saying, but you agree with one point. So that's
Yes.
interesting.
I've definitely
Okay.
said this in sort of an argument, maybe a political discussion or something,
Okay.
where someone will make a point that I can't, you know, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll give you that, but what
Yeah.
about this, right?
Right.
And it's actually a great way to connect and show that you are really listening, you're being open-minded, so that it feels like a conversation worth having.
Yeah, and in our C1 course, we talk about other ways, different ways. I don't think we mentioned this one, but different ways to do this, to make concessions when arguments get heated and they get political, right? So that's a true C1 skill, but we'll get a little hint into one strategy today, okay?
Yes, awesome. Let's do a little mini role play here. I'll start us.
Okay.
That hike was brutal. I'm exhausted.
It was worth it, though. What a view.
I'll give you that. I'm glad I did it to see the waterfall at the end.
Sometimes I do not love water. I don't think waterfalls are worth it. That's a hot take. I know everyone loves waterfalls, but I'm not this person that's going to hike an extra like 5 miles to see a waterfall. It's going to be like a trickle, you know? It's like,
That does happen. I've been disappointed by waterfalls, especially in Arizona. There's one
Yeah.
that's supposed to be big, but if it's a dry year, it's a trickle. It's
and
really
everyone gets
disappointing.
so excited about them. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Unless you're taking me to Niagara or what is it? The one in Argentina or Brazil. What is that called? Or Victoria Falls in South Africa. If
Those
I'm
are
going to
worth it.
those, yes.
Yeah.
But the others, no.
I missed one in Maui that I just didn't realize we hadn't looked into enough, and we were doing a hike, but we were sort of running out of time. So we turned around and went back. And I think it was
Yeah.
maybe a quarter of a mile further. It was like
Oh,
a
no.
stunning,
Oh,
giant waterfall.
Oh no, that's the worst.
Oh, so, you know, best laid plans.
Yeah, there you go. You did your best. You did your
Yep,
best.
yep.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
definitely, as we were saying, we also use this for when we have a difference of opinion. So let's see a role play with that as well. I'll start us out.
Okay.
I honestly think working from an office is way better. It's easier to focus and collaborate when you're face to face.
Really? But what about the commute? I hate being stuck in traffic.
I'll give you that. Commuting is no fun, but I just really prefer in-person interactions with coworkers.
Yeah, and this is definitely a relevant topic that a lot of people are debating right now because I think companies are in all different places in terms of the post-COVID plan. Some are fully back to work, some are, hybrid, many, or fully remote. Huh?
So it's more common now that a person has the option too. Or maybe they have to go in 1 day a week, but they can choose the day. So it's definitely more flexible for a lot of companies than it used to be. But it's interesting to see here how if I totally disagreed, I would say something else, right? If I'm just like, I don't even mind the commute. I like being in traffic. Like that's unlikely, but I can listen to podcasts on my commute. But where I do agree here, this is a perfect phrase. Okay, I'll give you that. Commuting's the worst.
And it's important to make that concession because you have to show that you're human, that you see the world in a similar way, right? That's important. Love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have a couple other options. There are, like you said, quite a few ways that we do this. Another one is to say, I have to admit, you've got a point, right?
Yeah.
This means the same thing. It's kind of similar on the level of like how formal it is. It can definitely be used for interactions at work and also everyday conversations.
Good. Let's show our listeners how to do this. So here we go. I know you love road trips, but flying gets us there in 2 hours instead of 10.
True, but you miss all the weird roadside attractions.
I have to admit, you've got a point. That diner we found last time was so cool. Yeah.
Nice. So you could use either here, right? You could also say, I'll give you that. That diner we found was amazing. And this works too. I have to admit, you've got a point.
Yes, exactly. 100%. And then another thing we could do is we could say, you're right about that at least. And the at least is really important here, right?
Yes, absolutely. Let's look at this in a role play too.
Okay,
maybe the pizza was overpriced, but it was still delicious.
You're right about that at least. That crust was to die for. Nice.
Yeah, so you can see how this is if you're venting about something or sharing that you both agree with something, and then maybe there's a caveat. There's one thing that you both didn't like, right? This is perfect. Be like, okay, I disagree about that at least, or you're right about that at least.
Yes, so many ways to give people a little something that you're on the same page with, right?
Yeah, so many different ways to say this.
So good. All right, Aubrey, we are into our final role play, bringing everything together. So here we are discussing the remake of a movie. Yes, there are a lot of hot takes on remakes. I
know, right? What do you think about remakes?
Sometimes they're not so good. Sometimes it should have been left as the original. I
know, right? I just watched the remake of Pride and Prejudice with my kids. And it's the one with Keira Knightley. It's newer, right? And I do love it. And I know a lot of people, this is kind of a hot take because a lot of people are really prefer the original BBC version, but it's so much longer. I definitely could not have watched it with my kids. It's so much longer. It's more true to the book for sure, but quite a bit older. So sometimes I can love a remake that updates something a little bit, but I get why people prefer the originals as well.
Yeah, I think maybe sometimes the original is nostalgic for them, reminds them of a different time of their lives. So it's really personal, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, there's a new Freaky Friday coming out, and I've seen a lot of chatter online about people are like, they're worried you're ruining the original by doing either a remake or like a part 2 of something that maybe should just be left as on its own, right?
Yeah, that's funny. The Freaky Friday, that must have come out in the 90s or the 80s or something.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, a long time ago. I'm curious to see it.
All
right, I'll start us here with our role play.
Yes.
I think the original movie was better. The remake just felt too polished.
I get that. But the acting in the remake was way stronger.
I'll give you that. The performances were solid.
And the pacing made more sense too, I think. The original dragged in parts.
I have to admit, you've got a point. The original was a bit slow.
See, at least the remake kept you engaged.
You're right about that, at least. But the original had more heart. I feel like this could all have been said about Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, for sure. Back and forth. I mean, modern movies cater to modern audiences. They know what we need right now, right? But
Exactly.
you may lose some of the heart. You may lose some of the originality of it, right?
Exactly, right? Give and take, right? There's always things that you have to give up if you are making something shorter or modernizing it.
Yeah, that's true. So first I said, so the first concession I gave was, I get that, right? You said the remake felt too polished. I said, I get that, but the acting in the remake was way stronger. So I get that, but X,
Yeah,
Y,
and
Z.
this is kind of a bonus here, right? We didn't really get into that one, and this is good too. I get that, but what about this?
Yeah, we
Is
didn't
another
even
way
get
to
into
say,
it.
like, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, interesting. So there you go. There's another one, a bonus for
Yes,
today.
right?
Nice. All right.
And
what
then I
else?
said, I'll give you that. The performances were solid. So I'm conceding, like, you're right. The acting was better in this one.
Yes. And then I said the original dragged in parts. And I might say also dragged on in parts. And then you said, I have to admit, you've got a point, right?
Yeah,
the original. And then
was
you're
slow.
re-emphasizing what I just said. The original was slow, right?
Yes, exactly. So I'm conceding your point and then sort of restating it. The original was a bit slow.
Good.
And then last I said, you're right about that at least, but the original had more heart. So I'm still coming up with reasons that I liked the original better, right?
Yeah.
But I have all these different phrases to connect with you and share, like, well, you're not wrong. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I still
Right.
hold my opinion.
And that's kind of cool. And a real true connection, it's normal and okay for to agree with some aspects of what someone says, but then also to assert your own opinion and have your own independence. And that makes you interesting.
Yes,
right?
it makes for a much more interesting conversation. We all know someone who just agrees with us about
Agrees.
everything, and that's not interesting either, or disagrees about everything.
Yeah,
Neither of those are
that's
great.
not good either. And it's usually not realistic, right? Usually we're going to share some common ground. So here's how to do it, right? And that's our takeaway for today. It is so important to have your independence, assert your opinion, but partially agree if you do. Right?
Exactly, right? Use today's phrases to connect with someone about, show them you are open-minded by recognizing that even if you have one opinion, you're acknowledging that what they're saying is valid as well.
Yes, I love it. Good stuff on the show today, Aubrey. Guys, don't forget to hit the follow button on All Ears English right now, and we'll see you for 5 episodes a week on the show. All right.
Awesome. See you next time, Lindsay.
Bye, Aubrey. Take care.
Bye.